Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. So you want to know what the most important tool in the shop is? It's this right here. Now you might think, what in the world? Why would that be the most important tool in the shop? Well, let me show you some features. It slides out, it slides back for easy storage. You're still thinking, what in the world? Let me show you what this crazy contraption does. Now this thing wouldn't typically be in your shop, it would be in your house. And I'm guessing that before you go out to your workshop, you need to put on your work boots. Now, when you get a little older, you don't like bending over so much. At least I don't anyway. So I can take this boot, put it on, and easy peasy lemon squeezy, tie up my shoes. You want to see how I made it? Let's get started.
So the first thing we did was open up Carbco Maker. I designed the entire project in Carbco Maker. And it took quite a little bit of time, so I didn't do a tutorial on how I did it. Of course, my buddy's in the shop every time I'm out there. I'm going to bring the machine over here, zero it out, start it in the corner, and let it rock and roll. When you have to make complex shapes, there's nothing easier than a CNC if you know how to program your computer software. And with Carbco, it's a snap. Now, this is 3/4 inch plywood that my brother-in-law, Dana from Bucky's Customs, left in my shop. Now, he should have known better than that. That's like putting drugs in front of a drug addict. I said, he won't mind if I use that. So I just said, I'm going to use a little bit of your plywood. And I left him with about a 1 foot wide sliver. Here I'm showing how my new clamping system works. I'm using a depth gauge because I didn't feel like putting a fence on the front of the machine to square that up. Easy peasy, clamps, lock it down. Again, we bring the machine forward, zero out the machine, remove the dust collection, put the block down, zero it out. We will then reconnect the dust boot and rock and roll. As you can see here. And I've just recently begun giving the machine or the programming a homing destination. So that's why you saw the CNC jump to the back and then come forward, because in Carbco, it goes there first and then begins the process. Now here's a poor camera angle when I'm cutting these tabs, but eventually I get it right. You can see where I had the camera in the wrong spot because I couldn't put the board or the way I wanted it, but here's what we're doing, cutting the tabs off, slicing off a bad section on the bottom of that plywood, and then I needed a piece here that I'm going to use underneath the seat, cutting it to length, using the old Riken again to put the notches in to create some joinery. I'm going to create the tenon here. That bandsaw makes doing this a snap. Using a file to round the corners so that we get some nicer joinery when I stick this through the mortise, putting the radius on the corners. As you'll be able to see here in just a moment, it's a pretty good fit. Just like that. I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty tight lines. Let's dry fit this thing and put it together. Now I oversized the notches a little bit on the fingers on the top there so that I didn't have to struggle putting this together. I didn't want to go through and dog bone everything. I don't care for the way the dog bones look. So I oversized the notches a little bit and let the glue and some brad nails do their job. Here's a little trick, a little piece of plexiglass, thin glass that we use for Christmas ornaments. I'm going to tape that to the table and put my glue on there, and then when I'm all done, I can remove that and no harm, no foul. I don't make a mess all over the place. Best way to put that on, the glue on those fingers, is with a brush for sure. Clamp it down, use some cawls so we can pull the fingers in together tightly. And as you can see, off comes the mess. Rounding all the corners. Would have been much easier to round these corners before I did the assembly, but sometimes I do things a little backwards here in the Hinkle shop. More often than not, though, we figure out how to fix it. Now, the router wouldn't get into this corner here or any of the other corners. Here's how I fix it. Orbital sander, gently rocking back and forth. And as you can see, it's pretty close. This is a painting project, so I'm not too concerned about everything being perfect.
So sliding this together one time, I noticed that I have a design flaw. It would be much nicer if these two pieces came together like this, as tight as possible, to conserve space in your shop, in your home, wherever you want to put this thing. So I need this slot to be longer, and here's the solution I came up with. I've created two fences, one on each side. I took the router, set the router in the hole using a 1/4 inch bit, slid the router to the left. Using my square, I marked the location of the edge of the plate on the router, slid it to the other side, marked that location, took it all out of the way, drew 2 lines to show me where the fences needed to be, obviously elevated the footrest, put in these 2 fences, clamped them down. I've clamped the device or the stool to the table, and then I added this clamp here as a stop after drilling this hole to show me where the router needs to stop. So put the router in the hole, pull it back as far as I can this way, again measuring off the face of the plate, made a mark, put the stop in. Let's see if I can wreck this footrest. Cable management's important here. If that lead cord catches on any of these clamps, we're going to have a bad day. That's one advantage to a battery operated router that I just simply don't have. But let's give it a go. I've got the router bit set 1/16 of an inch deep. Let's cut it up. Not looking too bad. It's a little wider back here, which will make it easier to slide the 2 pieces together. And we're going to continue.
So as you can see, we got a pretty good looking slot there. It worked out pretty well. I'm happy with it. We're using hunter green paint here. As I said before, this is a paint project. I've got the dust collection running there to suck the fumes in a little bit. We're going to put some green on it all over. Then we're going to switch to black, and we're going to create a cloud line all the way around the perimeter. Something like this here, and it looks pretty good when it's done. Now off camera, I began to look at those finger joints, and I really did not like them. So I went along and I added all of these cherry strips, and I realized it also needed a handle to push it back and forth with. So there you have it, folks. A stool to put your shoes or your boots on with when you get a little older, to make it a lot easier. So I hope you got something out of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope maybe you thought it was funny in some ways. But as always, give us a like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.